Welcome to Revenge Justice, where every wrong finds its payback.
You know, there's a certain kind of silence that only exists after betrayal. Not the calm kind. Not the peaceful kind that follows understanding or closure. No, this one is heavier. It lingers in the room like smoke after a fire. Thick, suffocating, impossible to ignore. That's the kind of silence I lived with, for months. It started like every story of love does. With warmth, laughter, and promises whispered in the dark. Her name was Julia. And when I first met her, I didn't think much of it. She was confident, funny. The kind of person who could make a crowded room feel like a private conversation. We met at a friend's birthday party. She spilled her drink on me, an accident, or maybe not. And we both laughed about it. That moment, small and harmless as it seemed, was the beginning of something that would eventually teach me everything I never wanted to learn about love, trust, and deception. Julia and I were perfect on paper. We had the same humor, the same love for old music. And we both dreamed of small, simple things. A house with creaky wooden floors, a dog, weekend road trips. You know, the usual. But real life, real love. It doesn't stay inside the lines of your plans. It spills. It stains. And sometimes, it burns. At first, the cracks were invisible. A delayed text here. A change in tone there. A phone turned face down more often than before. It's funny how your gut knows long before your heart is ready to listen. I remember one night. She said she was going to a work dinner. I didn't think twice. But later, when I called, she didn't answer. And something about the silence on the other end of that call felt different. Not busy. Not tired. Just distant. The next day, she smiled like nothing happened. And because I loved her, I convinced myself nothing did. But love, when it's one-sided, is a slow kind of madness. Weeks turned into months. And the feeling grew, this quiet unease that followed me everywhere. Like an echo of a truth I wasn't ready to face. One evening, she left her laptop open on the couch. I wasn't snooping, not really. But the notification popped up before I could look away. A name. A message. A heart emoji. And just like that, the world I had built with her cracked straight down the middle. My heart didn't break in a single moment. It splintered. Each message I read was another fracture. Another piece of my reality that no longer fit. He called her Jules. She called him love. The same words she had once used for me. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. I spent days pretending everything was fine. Smiling. Cooking dinner. Asking about her day. But inside, I was screaming. There's something cruel about pretending to be happy. When you already know the truth. Every "I love you" from her lips felt like a dagger wrapped in silk. And still, I stayed quiet. Because admitting it out loud would make it real. And I wasn't ready for that. Until one night. I was. She came home late again. Her makeup slightly smudged. The smell of someone else's cologne faintly mixed with her perfume. I asked her simple questions. Where were you? Who were you with? And she hesitated. Just long enough for me to know that everything I feared was true. Her eyes darted to the floor. Her voice cracked. And then she whispered the words that tore everything apart. I'm sorry. 2 words. That's all it took. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. I just stood there. Watching the person I loved transform into someone I no longer recognized. After she left that night, the house felt enormous. Every room echoed with memories I wished I could forget. Her coffee mug still sat in the sink. Her scarf hung on the chair. Her laughter, it haunted the walls. Grief after betrayal isn't like losing someone to death. It's worse. Because they're still out there. Just not yours anymore. Days passed in a blur. I went through the motions, work, meals, sleep. But everything felt empty. The world had color, but no meaning. Friends tried to help. They said things like, "You'll move on." Or, "She didn't deserve you." But those words. They don't heal. They just fill the silence. What heals is time. And pain. And truth. A few weeks later, I found myself driving aimlessly one night. Rain poured down, blurring the world outside into streaks of silver and gold. I ended up at the old park by the river. The place where Julia and I had our first date. I sat there for hours, watching the water move beneath the bridge. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I let myself cry. Not out of anger. Not out of pity. But out of release. Because sometimes, the hardest thing isn't letting go. It's forgiving yourself for holding on so long. The next morning, I started over. Not all at once, healing doesn't work like that. It happens slowly. In small, ordinary moments that don't look like healing at all. A cup of coffee that actually tastes good again. A sunrise that doesn't hurt to look at. A song that doesn't remind you of them anymore. Little by little, the silence became softer. Not empty, just peaceful. Months passed. And then, one afternoon, I ran into her. Julia. At the grocery store, of all places. She looked different, tired, unsure. Her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. We talked for a few minutes, polite and distant. And when she said goodbye, she looked like she wanted to say more. But I didn't need to hear it. Because by then, I had already learned the one truth that mattered. Some stories don't need closure. They just need to end. The funny thing about heartbreak is that it doesn't just destroy you. It reshapes you. I started going back to the things I'd forgotten I loved. I picked up my guitar again. Started hiking on weekends. Reconnected with old friends. I even took a woodworking class. There's something about shaping something broken into something beautiful. That feels poetic. And one day, while sanding down the edge of a table, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at her. Not at myself. Just grateful. Because the pain that once felt unbearable had become the very thing that set me free. They say people show you who they are. You just have to believe them. Julia showed me who she was. But more importantly, she showed me who I was. Someone capable of forgiveness. Someone strong enough to rebuild. Someone who could love deeply, and survive it. And that's something no betrayal can take away. A year later, I met someone new. Not by looking. Just by living. Her name was Anna. She didn't try to fill the spaces Julia left behind. She just existed beside me, quietly. Patiently. We talked about everything and nothing. We laughed. We shared stories. And slowly, she reminded me that love isn't supposed to feel like walking on glass. It's supposed to feel like coming home. But here's the truth no one tells you. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. Sometimes, I still remember Julia. Not with pain, just with distance. Like a book I once read that taught me something important. But one I don't ever need to open again. Because I've learned that love, real love, doesn't demand you lose yourself. It helps you find yourself again. And if betrayal is a storm, then healing is the sunrise that follows. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about me. If she ever regrets it. But then I remind myself. It doesn't matter. Because I don't need her remorse to have peace. I built that on my own. Peace built from silence. From long nights of reflection. From standing in front of the mirror and saying, "I'm still here. I made it. And that's enough." These days, when people ask me about her, I don't talk about the betrayal. I talk about what came after. The lessons. The strength. The rediscovery of self. Because the truth is, being cheated on wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of becoming someone I was meant to be. A person who loves carefully. Who trusts wisely. Who forgives freely, not for others, but for myself. If you're listening to this right now, if you're in that dark place where your heart feels too heavy to carry, I want you to know, you will survive this. The pain won't last forever. The betrayal won't define you. And one day, you'll wake up and realize, the person who broke you was just the push you needed to build yourself stronger. Not bitter. Not closed off. Just whole. So when they ask how you moved on, you can smile and say, I stopped waiting for them to be sorry. And I started being proud of surviving. Because sometimes, the best revenge is simply becoming everything they'll never be. Betrayal may break your heart, but it also rebuilds your spirit. Sometimes, the person who hurts you is just the lesson you needed to find yourself again. Don't let pain turn you cold. Let it turn you wise. Because true strength isn't found in revenge. It's found in peace. Clapperboard if you found strength, hope, or healing in this story. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need this reminder. That heartbreak doesn't end your story. It begins your transformation. Broken heart, right arrow, dizzy.